I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end. I hate kids.
Where are we going?
Home.
Where's home?
I have no idea.
Heidi fucking ho. Ah, ah, ah.
Hey, and welcome to Chucky Talks.
Hi, everyone. It's Alex and Christine,
And
of course.
Christine.
Sorry. How you guys doing? Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good week. Thank you so much, first of all, for watching the first couple episodes of our new podcast. You guys have been incredibly kind. We certainly appreciate it a lot. It makes it all the more fun that you're enjoying it. Right?
Oh,
You feel the same?
it would fucking suck if they didn't enjoy it.
You really would, right? It really would.
Yeah.
We'd feel like we're totally wasting our time.
Exactly.
So yeah, thank you guys for that. So this week, we just got to squeeze in a little bit of a 1 week break here, basically because I'm traveling for my first ever appearance in Scotland. Listen, I've been doing conventions for 18 years now. It's because of horror conventions that Christine and I reunited like we have.
Yep.
I've made so many friends that are just brilliant people and funny people and creative, incredibly inspiring actors. And I've met so many thousands of incredibly kind, appreciative fans. And Christine and I both are certainly not the type to sign our autographs and then go hibernate in our hotel rooms.
No.
You know?
It's for me, it's the I'm such a homebody. Even pre-COVID, I was a homebody. So for me, it's the greatest opportunity to have any kind of a social life. I get to see you. I get to see other people that I've either knew from working with them in the past, or I meet them at these cons and we see each other so often. We've developed a friendship. And so there's no real life. There's no real life intervening. You're far away with very little diversion except being social, which I really enjoy. And meeting people and seeing all kinds of awesome collectibles, rare shit people bring to us to sign, stuff they've made themselves, like original fan art. It's just really fun from top to bottom. I'm a huge fan of the convention world. One of the great, when you get at the bigger cons, especially they do reunions of a franchise, for example, a Scream reunion or a Chucky reunion.
Yeah.
And what we're going to show you guys this week is a panel from a convention in Texas called Texas Frightmare. It's a great panel. Alex and I, but Brad Dourif is on it. Isn't Catherine Hicks? Yeah, Catherine Hicks.
Catherine is, Don is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the only time that I think he was there for one. Kevin Yeager's there.
You know?
Yeah, but it was fun. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Sorry we don't have the breakdown for you this week, but we're going to make it really great when we have a little more time when I return. So enjoy our panel from Texas Frightmare weekend, and we will see you next week, 10 o'clock.
Bye.
Bye.
Moderator, bring him out here. Here he is. Hello. My name is Ryan Turk. I am from Blumhouse. I also co-host the Shockwaves podcast. I don't know if you guys listen to that. We're at the table, go say hi to my co-host. Welcome to Texas Frightmare weekend. You guys having a good time? This weekend is brought to you by Arrow Video. You guys are pretty familiar with Arrow, yes? Bringing us some great titles on Blu-ray. I'm not going to waste any more time with all of that business. Let's bring out our guests for this amazing Child's Play Chucky panel. Come on out, guys. Yeah, let's bring you all out. Let's just do it. Christine, Alex, Catherine, Kevin. but not least,
There's a lot of you. It's nice to see you.
We've got some other guests up here. We've got a tale of two Chuckies.
Well,
Kevin, Alex. You guys want to explain to me, like, what version?
this
What do you
one's
have,
from
Alex?
the movie. This is
And Kevin, yours is the screen used?
Screen used, yeah. Mic on. This was screen used in the first one. This was the stunt Chucky, the 5th stage stunt Chucky.
Amazing.
It's most like this man over here. Receded hairline and blue eyes. Red. The audience just like.
Alex, do you want to explain what's yours?
I think we've all felt that way.
30 years between these two.
I made myself just fine.
This is the newest one from Paul, so this is 30 years later.
this is 30,000. This is
It took me 4 films and 30 years
to get it. We're going to keep it.
It's incredible. I mean, 30 years later, you guys are all on stage talking about this this doll.
I know.
I mean, it came, and when I was growing up and I saw the film, my parents were actually going, "Oh, that's a reaction to the Cabbage Patch Dolls," because I remember my sister crying and throwing a tantrum because she could not get one. And then Child's Play came around. My dad was like, "Well, they made a horror movie about that." Go. So, Dad, you want to talk a little bit about that, the origins?
So, we are a very loving, slightly dysfunctional family. So, what was the question? Okay, so my dad worked in advertising and marketing when I was a kid. There's probably not a person in this room who hasn't heard this story, and it's probably going to be exactly worded.
Well, I think there's some new things that I might not have heard.
So my dad worked in marketing and advertising, and I was exposed to that world a lot as a kid. And, you know, my father would try out campaigns on my sisters and stuff. So, I mean, even as a kid, I was very aware of what a cynical world that was, particularly as it was geared toward children. In fact, in the world of advertising, they refer to children as consumer trainees, which was a line we put in Child's Play 3. Yeah, it's just super cynical. So I wanted to write a black satire about how advertising could affect kids in a bad way. This was in the 80s when Cabbage Patch Dolls were popular, and I sort of put those impulses together. And here we are, 30 years later.
For the younger fans out there, I don't know if you guys know what the Cabbage Patch Doll is. Really gnarly looking guy. Remember Garbage Pail Kids? Hi buddy.
I mean, he looks a lot like my buddy, but that was not intentional.
Someone listening to my buddy.
Oh. I don't know what you're talking about.
The good guy doll's voice, the kid that did my buddy voice. Yeah, he had also did Chucky's voice, and we got the same kid. So
I did.
You didn't know that?
I knew it was Egon Chris. I didn't know he did my buddy.
Yeah, and so the mothers were bringing the dolls back to the toy stores by the hundreds.
It's hilarious.
And then because they had didn't they have, it was Corky and Cricket. Does anybody remember the two dolls? Okay.
We gotta bring you some more.
I had no idea that.
Yeah.
And so we went to the part 2, the big factory, all the toy parks.
Yep.
And we asked if they could do the toy parks for us. And they said, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll do this for you. But you guys put us out of business." And we don't sell any Corky dolls anymore because of Josh Play. So thanks. They want me to thank.
So in a sense, I'm speechless.
Yeah, Chucky killed Corky.
I hope all those poor families were okay.
Well, Catherine and Alex, can you just talk a little bit about your entry points into Child's Play? Catherine was a big fan of yours in Star Trek for The Voyage Home.
Thank you.
Gotta say, a little crush. And Alex, I mean, for you, from how old were you at the time?
I was 6 in the first film.
6 in the first film. That's amazing. I mean, like, I'm sure the child labor laws were a little looser back in the day as opposed to what they are now. I mean, no, not at all. They were really harsh then too. Fair enough. But you just talk about your entry point into the film and coming on board.
Well, I went after it because it was a great role, and it had all really valid mainline producers. It was like a real movie. It was an A movie, and I loved the character. And then we had the first read-through. To tell this story, I wasn't a mom. I was just an actress. I didn't know. Okay, I'll play a mom. And we get in the read-through, and little Alex is there, and all of a sudden I realized this kid has more lines than I do. And I thought, I can't stand him. So these big producers, they all freaked out. And after the table read, they got Brad, come over here, and threw us in a room and said, play acting and theater games with them, so they'll warm up to each other. But we did warm up.
Yeah, I've told the story a couple times. I don't know if it was I'm talking to. I don't know if my acting coach. I don't know if it was my acting coach or it was someone on set who found this little like bead off of a beaded necklace or something that had fallen off, and she said, "Give this to the pretend that this is a magic ball that you're giving."
That was your mom.
Yeah. So she gave it to me. I still have it. It's a little bead.
You gave her one back too, didn't you?
I don't know.
I think you did because we
I
had
gave her
it
something
in
in
the
the
bathroom drawer for years.
Yeah. Well, we just we did get really close in those first couple weeks of filming, which definitely helped.
Because you can tell when you watch films. I mean, kids don't lie. If they don't know you and are close by the time you start your first scene, it doesn't look real.
Brett.
And that's the story of acting with children.
Brad, how many days were you physically on set for Child's Play? Because you're only in for the intro. And can you take us into the recording booth and finding the voice of Chucky for that very first time?
Can I take you in there?
Yeah, take me in there. No?
No.
Is it hot?
Horrible.
Sweaty?
It's lonely. It's I found Chucky in rehearsal. Actually, with Catherine, they had me come in, and I started jumping around like a doll.
They taped off the floor in the conference room in the hotel in Chicago.
Yeah.
And he was there just
And so I was like, and she was kind of got scared, and I was going, hey, this is fun. I'm scaring the crap out of this gorgeous girl who's a good actress. So so actually that was really good for me because I think, essentially acting is all about connection. And until you connect with somebody who's actually really alive, you don't know who you are. And I think so. It was really during that rehearsal that I found Chucky, that I found his playfulness and his love of murder.
And that hasn't changed through many of the films, has
Well, no. That's an interesting question in and of itself because Chucky's personality changed with the genre. As the genre changes over the years, so must Chucky. And that's more Don's doing his genius than mine here.
Well, I was going to say that the tone of the films have changed as you, Don, started taking more creative control. Can you just talk about that evolution? What was your experience like on the first film, and then going forth from 2 on up, and taking more control and having a little bit more authorship on the franchise?
Well, on the first movie, I didn't have any control, and I wasn't on the set. It was shot during a writer's strike, And
You did write it though.
I did write it. Well, I wrote it, and then, as often happens in Hollywood, thank you, bless you. But, John LaFia did a couple of drafts and added stuff to it, and then Tom Holland did as well. And, I think it was very much a happy moment. The result, I think, is a happy collaborative process. And well, I feel like this I didn't have a part of the first movie until it got into post-production. I mean, I wasn't on set. Then, after Tom Holland delivered his cut, then David Kirshner, the producer in all the movies, invited me back in just, to give my opinion, nothing more, but, it was a great opportunity for me to learn, and I think he saw, there was a value in having me around, and so then, with the second movie, I got to, I was on set all the time, and learned a lot from John LaFia and from Kevin. But once I started really getting into it as the franchise rolled on Child's Play 3, I felt, and I've been very happy, by the way, to meet the 3 people who love Child's Play 3.
You'd be shocked at how many people love that. No, a lot of people love it. I'm not a fan of 3 either. Well, you guys, you didn't have to do it. I couldn't talk for like 3 weeks after that, because all he did was.
I was only 10.
Well, I mean, part of that, I think part of the problem with that movie was that it came out 9 months after Child's Play 2. I mean, it was just very rushed, and I wanted to do something different, and so I felt like I'd sort of explored the relationship between Chucky and this little kid long enough, so by aging in soap opera-like fashion, you just age the character 10 years, and now suddenly he's 18 years old or whatever. It just theoretically opened up new opportunities for storytelling. But I really do think that the problems with that movie were my fault. I think Jack Bender, who directed it, is one of the biggest directors in TV now, did a great job. I just think it was a little tired. So after a few years passed, I just didn't want to do the same movie anymore. And I think that was the problem with Child's Play 3. We're just getting locked into typical franchise fatigue. So I thought, let's just swim out to the wave and make it a comedy. There's so much inherent humor in the premise and absurdity in the premise that I felt like if we embrace that and really get into Chucky's character and find out what makes him tick, what is he like emotionally? What is his Achilles heel emotionally turned out to be Tiffany? And I think that worked very well. And speaking for myself, I think Brad, it's my favorite of the series, is Brad.
Actually, it is my favorite of the series. I thought that the use of because we entered a period of self-referential.
Yeah, it was post-screen.
It was post-screen, and now it's about horror films themselves. So she's in love with the story. You have this psychopath romantic, Tiffany. And she's in love with this story of Bride of Frankenstein, and she's suddenly living it. And it was just perfect. It was a perfect script.
It's also about like that one ex-boyfriend you had that was a real asshole.
Right, what do you know? So, and then with Seed of Chucky, I didn't want to make the same movie as Bride of Chucky. So I just I want to get even nuttier. And I know a lot of people think I went too far. Sorry. People still tweet me on Twitter, really looking forward to the new movie, but you do know you really ruined it with 2. I think we all survived though, and we lived to continue the story. Now we're, with Curse, I wanted to, because I felt with having directed Seed, which was a comedy, I hadn't directed a proper horror film as a director, so that was, with Curse, I was really excited to flex those muscles. So.
It did a great job with it too. Thank you. Good job. Christine, before your turn in Child's Play 2 was your feature debut, right? You had done some television work, but that was...
I did a really small role in a movie Barbara Hershey called Defenseless before that, but it was really tiny. This is my first big job.
Yeah. Can you just talk about kind of those, those on-set jitters maybe, and coming into a part 2 of a big horror hit and working with some of your cast members?
Well, first of all, I was a huge Brad Dourif fan when I got the job, so I was super starstruck when I got to do the rehearsal with you. That was really exciting. I didn't have jitters, I don't think. I think I was too new and too stupid to have jitters. And just too fucking excited. I was so happy to be there. And it was shot, the first half of the schedule was shot on the Universal lot, which is where the Universal monsters were born, and I was very aware of that history. It was really exciting for me too. Shooting on lots is always exciting because there's so much history all around you. Just feel like a fucking actor. It's so great. And you feel like you've been initiated into the coolest club on earth. And shooting it was really fun. There's a little detail of the shooting that most people don't know, which is that child labor laws were strict back then. And so Alex, all my scenes that were with Alex and Chucky, they would shoot all Alex's stuff first and then send him home. Like shoot the master so you have the geography of the scene. And then they shoot him out because he had to go for child labor reasons. And then Chucky took like 7 or 9 puppeteers and they were all SAG actors. So Chucky was really expensive to have on set and they had bought me out for a flat rate every week, so I was cheap to have. So they would shoot Chucky out and send Chucky home. So anytime you see me in a scene and they're not in the frame with me, they probably weren't on set with me either. So I'm doing every scene, like all my close-ups, all the important stuff, I'm doing to tape on a C-stand. I'm like, that blue X over there is Chucky, or it's Andy, and that red X over there is Chucky. And then I have a script supervisor reading the dialogue next to the camera, because it used to be a film camera, and they sat next to the camera, and there was no video village. And I have a voice coming from behind me, reading lines. It's very difficult to react to that direction when the voice is coming at you from that direction. Because you really instinctively want to look back at where the voice is coming. So I was a really inexperienced actor. It's a really challenging thing, and I don't think I did the best work in my life. And the film as a result. You did a great job.
You did a great job. Chris, do you have any good Gary Graham stories? Christine?
Me?
Yeah.
He was cranky AF. He was really cranky and intimidating, but that's good because that's who he was, that's who his character was too, so it works.
Yeah.
He has gone on to become the mellowest sweet old man ever. He's so sweet now. At one of the photo ops at a show I did a couple of years ago, he literally asked me to fix his hair for him. So I'm sitting like grooming him, and it was really kind of heartbreaking. He's really sweet.
Alex and Catherine, who were missing on stage here, is Chris Randon. Can you talk about working with Chris?
Yeah, Chris was when I got the movie, or soon after I got it, I saw Fright Night as a kid, and it was like the first horror film that I ever saw.
6-year-old?
Yeah, it's the first horror film I ever saw. First topless girl I ever saw. Neither here nor there.
It matters. It matters.
So, anyways, yeah, Chris was very cool, and I knew him as Jerry Dandridge, and so it was intimidating a little bit. But he was very sweet. He had kids that were like close to my age. I had 3 daughters. So yeah, that was the beginning of a real family dynamic between everybody. Of course, we didn't know when I was 6 that I would be, seeing everyone when I was 37. So I didn't know that 3 decades worth of having these people in my life would compound that family structure of the people that we got to work with. But yeah, everyone was just very sweet and fun to be around, and made the first film for me that I ever did as comfortable as can be.
And Chris Sarandon's, a real New York stage actor, and so he was part of what gave credible weight to this horror film. It was really not, it was just real sort of quality stuff from A to Z, and he was a big part of that in my opinion.
Kevin, can you walk us through, I mean, prior to Chucky, you know, we saw on-screen killer dolls, Talking Tina, and the Zuni doll, but Chucky offers a lot of ambitious stuff. I mean, from your standpoint, can you just take us through from concept to screen?
Well, I mean, the first thing that, you know, was getting a call from Dave, the producer. And he got my name from Rick Baker. You guys know who Rick Baker is. And Rick recommended me for the job. And then they sent over Bluntman. Right? Yeah. And I think it was your script. I think I first read your script, and then I read Rodrigo Fias, two of you guys. And, you know, and then had meetings with David, you know, and he submitted, you know, he's an artist, you know, and he submitted a painting that somebody else had done that he had designed, basically, and then a, you know, pencil sketch. So we started with this pencil sketch, and I began to do little maquette things. And so I was scared to practice, you know, when I first got this job, because I was 25 years old. I was just a kid. I just done 9 Elm Street 3, the Dream Warriors, and the Big Freddy that was like the first I've really done. And David came over and turned Freddy's head on, and, you know, he came come to life, you know. And he tried to show him, you know, whatever I could do. And I don't know how, but he's convinced I could pull off Chucky. I don't know. Chris Wallace also was doing some tests early on. Do you guys know Chris Wallace? He's the guy that did Indiana Jones on the melting heads for, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Flight 2.
Gremlins. The first Gremlins. So he had a lot of animatronic experience, but somehow I can't remember what went wrong with that relationship. So David came over, and again, I convinced him to do this thing, and then I went back home and cried. Didn't know how to start. But I did get a hold of a great crew from Mac and me and movie mechanical guys, and we sat around and fun produced film or something. So I got a great team of expert mechanical guys, and it was like working at a hotel, going in every day and trying to, David had, you know, great influence, the Cure, yeah, was the production designer, and he had a lot to say. Tom Holland came in. Unfortunately, I didn't meet Don until part 2, because, you know, you weren't around, and, you know, would love to talk to you, but he was inspired by your script. And then we got, you know, Brad was cast, and so in comes this brilliant actor who did, and I told this yesterday, but we had never met until 2 days ago, for the first time. Believe it or not, because I would just get tapes of his voice, and that's how we animated and puppeteered the doll to your voice and track. So never even met the man. Crazy. So it's a historical thing here for me anyway. So just getting the character from Don's script and you know, David's input and everybody, we just began to sculpt it, and then the cricket, the Corky doll, the Blood Buddy, we were comparing it constantly to that. So I bring in a little quick story. We bring in, they kept saying, it's not as cute as Corky. We need to make the good guy doll really, really cute. So I bring in the Corky doll and set it next to my clay sculpture, which was green clay with pink eyeballs. They just how we did things back in those days. They were acrylic, made of acrylic. So it looked like a demon doll next to, it was supposed to be sweet like this. It was this face. And they would say, it's not as cute as Corky. And I said, well, you're looking at color, you're looking at paint, you know, you're looking at eyebrows, eyelashes. It'll be fine once I get all that on there. So they wouldn't believe me, so I went back and I pulled all the hair out of Corky, had curly red hair, pulled it all out. I painted it green, like clay, put pink eyeballs and brought it in, set them next to each other, and they finally went, okay, I think, yeah, our good guy doll is getting cute or whatever. So it was just like working for Mattel, because everybody had, there was like a panel of people, everybody had an opinion, and there was a lot of pressure. So anyway, that's how it started. Got going. I had to figure out how to make it work, and, you know,
I'm curious, were there any rumblings on the studio level of them saying something to the effect like, we have the next thing, we have that next? Was there a feeling that you guys had an icon in the making?
The only time I ever heard anything back from the studio was on Bride. They really liked the combination of the two characters, you know talking between Jennifer. You know, that was the only comment I ever got in the franchise that I was involved with.
Wow. Fiona, let's talk about your earliest memory of Child's Play and of Chucky. When did this come into your life? Obviously, you grew up, this is part of your family.
Yeah, my genetics. Okay, so I didn't know if this memory was fabricated or not. I was 6 years old, and my super responsible parents were like, "You should go in and see your dad at work." And I was like, "Okay." And I walk into this office, and my dad's in this booth, and he's screaming fucking murder. And I'm, whatever, 5, and I break down and start crying and run, and nobody can find me, and I hide under a desk. And they're like, "What happened?" And it was the scene where my dad was being burned alive. And then I also remember being in the premiere, and I would have been 7, and I didn't even know if that memory was real or not. But we figured out.
Yeah.
It's real. It's okay. That's pretty cool.
And the first one's real. I had to find her. I finally found her and calmed her down and said, "What the heck was she doing?"
And he blames it on my mom.
Yeah.
Well, for you, I mean, when did you get the bug to act? When did that come in?
It's real fun. In case anyone's wondering, it's the lifestyle of trying to get a job and then not knowing where you're going to make money, and then that whole thing is the difficult part. But when you're actually acting, it's really, really fun. And I think I was one of those kids that would drag my parents to plays where I was like, "I'm fire." And they're like, "That's great." And then when I was 23, I took an acting class, which was old to start, because they wanted to get the acting when you were 11. But I did this improv thing. It was so fun. I had to kill a pizza man. I had to manipulate and kill a pizza man. And at the end of it, I was just like, that is the most free I've ever felt. If I could make a living doing this, oh my God. And then it took me a long time to be able to make a living at it. If anybody wants some advice from a C-list actor, give it 10 years, and then maybe you can make a living. I'm not lucky, and it's really fun.
She just got a TV series today. Sorry.
Did you have a favorite non-horror performance of your father's that you always admired?
Yeah, the only performance that I can't see my dad in at all, where he is a different person, is Cuckoo's Nest. One of the best performances I've ever seen, and also I was tortured as a kid in middle school where they were like, "I've seen your dad's butt." That was brilliant.
Talk about, Don, we're talking about cult and curse, and it's shifting the franchise into new, kookier, fun directions. So you just talk about it. I feel like you're a lot more free with these 2 films, both creatively and on a story level. I mean, the last film we had multiple Chuckies with different personalities all talking together, which is probably my favorite scene of the last film. Can you talk about the experiences on these movies and working with Uni and also Fiona as well? I imagine she's your muse at this point.
Talking to the mic.
Yeah, she's been very musy the last 5 years or so. Well, like all other actors, she came in and auditioned, but she first auditioned for the role of the Daniel Basutti role from Curse, or the bitchy sister. And, Brad had sort of flagged for me that she was coming in. We had lunch one day, and he was bringing me up to date on what Fiona was doing. He said she just did work with Paul Thomas Anderson on Master, and so of course I was very impressed. But I had seen Fiona on True Blood, and even though she doesn't remember it because she was a kid, I met her a couple of times as a child. No, I saw you. I probably saw you at that premiere. I was there.
There may or may not have it did happen. But Dawn took, my dad used to teach at Columbia University in New York City, and Dawn took my dad's class, and my mom was pregnant with me, maybe.
No, it was in the fall of '81, and you were born in October of '89. Anyway, so she came in and read for that role, and I thought like, oh, she's really good, but I don't know if I'm crazy. I actually think she would be great as the lead. So we brought her back in, and she read for Nika, and I just like, oh my God, she's great. I just thought she was great. She had very, very unique charisma, I think. But the other way of putting it that I talked to Fiona about is that I had seen a lot of good actors for the role, but I just didn't believe them somehow. In Fiona's eyes, I just saw tension and pain and just like a whole world going on, and I just said that's gonna work.
Mess up your kids. Let's look to them.
I believe that you've had terrible things happen to you. This is what he told me once I got it.
So I just thought like I think she's the one, and I called Brad and I told him this, and I said, of course, now don't tell Fiona, but I actually think she could be great as the lead. And then like I talked to David Kirscher about it, and I talked to our studio exec, and at first they're thinking, Don, are you sure you're wanting to do this for the right reasons? Because they were thinking, is it just a gimmick? And I said, like, no, I don't care that she's a dwarf. She can change her name if she wants. It's just like she's great for the part. Now that said, once we started working together on Curse of Chucky, and I'm sure any of you have been in the room where she's been signing, Fiona's natural laugh is Chucky's cackle. I mean, that's just the way she laughs. So she looks so much like Brad, and I just thought like, okay, we've got to have you channel Chucky at some point, because that just, and to me, I just thought, moving on to Curse, I just thought that was like the best idea, and I didn't think it would be controversial at all. I thought everyone would love that, and a lot of people did love it, but some people like, oh, you changed the rules. Now Chucky can be in more than one body. How did you do that? And I said, I just did it. Voodoo's not an exact science. But it's interesting you mentioned the three Chuckies, because that's like, I love that scene too, but it was a very tricky scene to write because I think I was afraid of making it too goofy. And so at first, the initial drafts, they were just kind of like, it was just kind of a non-starter, and I was just rewriting it a lot, and I'm glad you liked it.
Did anybody get the Hannibal reference?
So, okay, since you brought it up, I'm going to say that, like, that was a last-minute addition. I kept rewriting that scene while we were shooting, and it's like, got this, and Fiona's rolling her eyes. She's like, that's Dawn, please. And I said, no, it's the biggest laugh in the movie, which I thought it was.
Don, can you talk a little bit about the upcoming television series that you're at work on? Will we see some familiar faces pop up?
Come on.
Well, I can't really say too much about it, but it is something that's in active development now. We're doing it, and
He's in it with my ex-boyfriend, because there's like 3 people who exist in the world.
with Nick Antosca, who I work with on Channel Zero. I met Nick through Fiona, but then Nick and I coincidentally ended up in the writers' room on Hannibal together. So it is just this weird incestuous world. But in the ongoing idea of keeping this a tight-knit family, it's like, okay, now your ex-boyfriend's going to be part of it. No problem.
He's also a good friend.
But with the end of Cult of Chucky, I deliberately wanted to set up a TV series. Very methodical. I mean, that's why I left all. It's kind of like the Empire Strikes Back of the series, because it's like leaves every character on a major cliffhanger, and we have all kinds of new rules going on, and multiple Chuckies, and I knew that a TV series with that kind of novelistic approach to storytelling could really get into these characters in a way that you can't in 90-minute movies. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Will you have a human female Treasure Ray?
We can't talk about it.
Let's open up the. I'm noticing this is standing room only, which is crazy. Anybody have any questions? You were the first, way in the back, standing up.
So in Child's Play 1, when Andy is going with Chucky to meet Andy Caputo, his shoes changed multiple times, and I didn't know if you guys had multiple Chuckies or if it was multiple shoes. Second part is directly for Brad. Do you still have a problem with Eddie Caputo?
Oh, Eddie Caputo.
Eddie Caputo.
He was your strangling partner.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know how that was. You pull it up good.
As far as multiple Chucky.
The shoes, we finished the shoes, put them on the doll, and then shot that scene. And I think it came back, and we just watched the Baileys, and it came back that the shoes aren't popping enough. It was one of those decisions, you know. So we went back and added that bottom stripe to it. And we thought about going, getting that digital back there to go back in and paint in the stripe. So we just left it, and hopefully no one would notice. It's all a mistake. I actually laugh at that when I see that scene, because I think, look at that good shoe. But it actually does look better with the white stripe, don't you think? So it's just kind of a mistake in design, and we couldn't afford to go back and reshoot the whole scene, with the different shoes.
All right, Freddie, you got to speak through your mask. Really, really emote.
I read an article last year that you wanted to do a crossover between my two favorite characters, Chucky and Freddy Krueger. Is that going to be a possibility now? Is that really coming?
Freddy versus Chucky.
Something I want to do. I don't know if anyone else who could make it happen wants to do. Although David Kirshner, we've talked about it for a while, and we've had conversations with Toby Emmerich, New Line Warner Brothers. I don't know if it will ever happen, but I would love to do it. My idea for it, you may have heard this, but very quickly, it would be basically 3 Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with Freddy and Chucky. Child's Play on Elm Street. So Chucky ends up on Elm Street living with some kid, and in the dream world he meets Freddy, and they're fans of each other, even though they've never met. They're like, we're at heaven, It's like, oh, I really admire your technique. I'm a big fan of your work. But then they realize that there's not enough room on Elm Street for 2 killers. So, as in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, they set a contest: who can kill the most teenagers before sunrise? And whoever wouldn't.
Great idea.
See that? I totally. I enjoyed Freddy versus Jason, but because Jason doesn't speak, there was no opportunity really for them to develop any kind of relationship, whereas Chucky and Freddy they have similarities but glaring differences, and Chucky with his Napoleon complex, but I think Freddy might, sir, you might be surprised he would give you a run for your money. Anyway, I would love to do it, but who knows? Let's write or post it, clamor for it.
Brad, you up for it? You up for the job?
What?
Freddy versus Chucky. Take on Robert England?
Why not?
Let's do it. All right. Yes, sir.
On this?
And I also think that movie and the obvious, sort of tenor and tone of that movie could exist concurrently with the TV show, that we're doing with the TV show, is going to continue the narrative and the incredibly complicated web that we've spun for 30 years. And, our motto is, never say reboot. Keep going forward, forging forward with all the same characters.
I love the notion of Chucky dreaming. I mean, like
Chucky and
he's trapped in a body of this doll.
I I love Inception, and even in Cult of Chucky, we had a couple of dream sequences that were really fun to do. But I think the idea of Chucky's dreamscape, another thing that would be really fun.
Yeah, you think so?
Well, we had in Bride of Chucky, in the scene in the van where Jesse and Jade, Catherine Heigl and Nick Spadil have been taken hostage, and Chucky has them at gunpoint. He says, "Well, you do know who I am, right?" And they go, "Yeah, Chucky." Well, there was all this dialogue that we cut where the kids are asking the dolls questions. It's sort of like when Lois Lane is interviewing Superman. Do you eat? Do you go to the bathroom? And then it's like, this is what they're interested in. Their lives are on the line. They're going to be killed by the cops. But how does it work?
Yes, sir. Timeline for the TV show.
What year is it?
Well, okay. This is my fantasy would be to have it on the air for Halloween season of 2019. Probably way too ambitious. It's like, what could possibly go wrong, right? It's going to be smooth sailing. Also, see you in a year. But that's my fantasy, and I can entertain that in my head.
Yes, sir.
Because it's too obvious. It's just like these two. I think they would cheapen each other in a way. I don't know how to articulate it, but it just seems too obvious to me. Whereas Chucky, diminutive little killer, and this towering, guy. To me, it's just more interesting.
The real reason I want to see it is because I think the more famous the dialogue would be great.
That's. Well, they're doing Sci-Fi is doing a new Leprechaun movie now, and they're. Are you sending over that idea to me?
I think Chucky would win, though. I think that's an easy beat down.
It's too obvious.
Waving your hands enthusiastically.
No, never. That's a very popular question in my life because you assume that I would, but no, when you're there doing the same thing all day, every day, over and over again, and you see Kevin and his whole team of puppeteers operating the doll, there's no opportunity to be scared, Yeah, you got to get Chucky to move the right way and flip off the camera, put his hand on my head or something. Take several tries. Everything has to come perfectly together. So you're doing the same thing over and over. And when they said cut, the doll stopped trying to kill me. So.
And being scared in a movie is actually hard work. It's because you're not.
Moments where shooting the first movie where they played the audio, because it's a moving puppet, it takes forever. They played the audio, and the audio is my dad's voice, and that got in my consciousness. I was like,
That's weird.
Also, the puppeteers can make that doll do anything they want to do. So, for example, when I was that car scene in Child's Play 2, we were in the car, for half a day, and in between takes, they would have the doll flirting with me and feeling my thighs. And really
I had nothing to do with that.
There's actually a picture I have. It's my favorite picture from the whole thing of me leaning in to kiss Chucky during that sequence because he was feeling my thighs, so I thought I'd make a move.
Chucky's about Joy and Harvey Weinstein. Chucky.
Puppeteer.
Yes, you were. Favorite Chucky quote or scene presented for the
Can I
panel?
say something?
Yeah.
No offense, but fuck you. The elevator scene.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, he's got a ton of great lines through all of them. The film we were in when Phil falls down the stairs and he flips around disoriented and he looks at him. How's it hanging, Phil?
Like it? Yeah. Oh, okay. You're going to have some kind of climactic one-upping. Well, I think the scene where Catherine discovers the batteries that Chucky's been operating on his wound stream the whole time. I think that's I think that's one of the best scenes in the franchise.
It's the first time you see him come to life.
Yeah, it's just it couldn't have been better. I think that's just like the way Tom Holland directed it, Catherine's performance. She just seemed really, her terror was so real. And I also love, there's one shot that I love, which is when he's behind the ottoman and you see him like start to run to the left out of frame. And it just like almost seems the way it's shot, it's so casual and it totally sells how alive he is. So that's one of my favorite, and then I also, the Free Chucky scene, I mean, we were dying laughing the whole time we were shooting. Just especially with the Chucky that we called Buzz Cut with the hair. Because I knew that like they all had to have subtly different personalities. So since Buzz Cut was the newest one, that this would, he's childish and kind of innocent. And so when the three of them converge on poor Carlos to kill him, and when we were doing the shots for Buzz Cut, it's like going, and then he'd go going like this, and then like he would like turn over to the others and be like, okay, isn't this great? Isn't it great? I just like dying laughing.
Are you looking at me?
I forget what he said to me, you filthy whore, you stupid bitch.
Stupid bitch, you filthy slut. I'll teach you to fight with me. That's, I mean, to be fair, that's Tom Holland. It's great. That was Tom Holland's line.
One more question, and unless you guys.
Where would you want to take this new kind of part of your characters with the shotgun and hunting Chucky down and all that?
Yeah, I mean, asked where would I want Andy's character to go? I don't know. That's clearly up to Don, but I love the fact that Andy is not afraid of him anymore. There might be moments where Chucky can sneak up on me, and I know that he's a threat still, obviously, and I know he's dangerous, but I don't feel like Andy is afraid of him. And the fact that I've been, torturing him in my home for the past 3 or 4 years, which is really some dark stuff and private evenings with just the two of us. We're going to talk about that buzz cut. I shaved a good guy doll's head in front of him. Like, that's some psychological torture. Like, that's really making him question himself. And I don't know what, yeah, just more of the same. More opportunities to hurt him is what I would like.
Don, would you be opposed to a scene where Alex is like shooting a bunch of Chuckies?
Mowing down multiple Chuckies? Would I be opposed to that? No. It's like, that's like a money scene.
Sounds expensive.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. Let's give it a round of applause for. Thank you so much.